And welcome to Podcast on Wheels, powered by Power Loops. Today, we've got a very special treat for you. Right here, a local girl. She is in real estate. She is teaching, coaching, developing, and helping others. She's hosting events. She's public speaking. She does a little bit of everything. Today, we have Lauren Harris in the studio.
Welcome. Thank you for having me. I cannot be any more surprised than to have the honor to come here.
Thank you. And we've been trying to get this done for a little while.
Just a little bit.
But you have a little bit of a schedule. So take us back in time to young Lauren. Take us back to bring us up to date. Kind of give us some feel. Real estate, event, speaking. How did you get here?
Well, if I go way back, I was always the talker. So I always had the gift of gab. Some of my content that's out there talks about me having the gift of gab. And so communication was always a big thing for me. And I feel like people just listened. I don't know if it's because I'm loud. I don't know if it's because I'm rambunctious or because I'm so little and I have such a big voice that people are like, wait a minute, what is she saying? So it just kind of started very early on that I kind of had a knack for words. Ironically, I can't spell to save my life. So it's kind of comical that like grammar's not like great, but I actually can speak pretty eloquently. I've moved forward, obviously, through trajectory, and I've just kind of watched my grandmother build and have a flourished business through owning a local floral boutique in South Huntsville. And so she was kind of a role model for me. And so watching that and kind of watching her go through this and like build this business and what she went through, I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to work for myself. I don't want to work for somebody else. So kind of gauging into the sales side of it as I got older, right out of high school, started selling cars. Okay. And I knew I could sell stuff. Yeah. Right. And I'm not that salesperson. Like I am a real estate agent. I have my broker's license, but I'm not that real estate agent that's a used car salesman. Right. Ironically, even though I was a used car salesman.
And I want to jump in right there. I was actually listening to a podcast earlier, and it's a friend of mine, Bradley. We were talking about him. Yeah. And he said, somebody said, well, like a used car salesman. Brad said, hold on just a second. Have you ever sold one of your cars? And he's like, yeah. He said, well, then you're a used car salesman too, bro. He said, but I'm a good one. He said, that's the point, right? And that's what you're saying.
Exactly. Everybody has their goodness in them. And I'm not that salesperson that's going to sell you on a thing. Yeah. I'm the salesperson that provides you with the data, the information, and all the analytics that you need to make the right decision. I'm only going to sell you on something that you want to be sold on. Right. I'm not going to push you off the cliff. Mm-hmm. So I think that knack has really taught me how to engage with customers and engage with the community, which ultimately branched me into some of my other things, which is the public speaking and the marketing side of things and helping other small businesses reach their community and their niche clientele as well. Right. So I really love education and like providing information to the masses. Mm-hmm. If you do follow the socials, like you can see it there. Like I give a ton of information out. I'm just a real person. Who you meet online, that Lauren is the same Lauren you get in person.
Yeah, so, and I can vouch for that. I can vouch for that because the first time I got to meet you was at a speaking event. Yeah, and I remember we happened to be seated up in the front, and I just looked over and I was like, she's not here to attend. She's got an energy. She's going, and I hope I don't have to go right behind her to speak today. Okay? Because I felt that. And I was like, what am I going to be able to do? Right? But thank you for bringing it back down and bringing it back to my level. And I appreciate that feed that you led me into that day. So as you get up and speak, though, where's that energy and all of that? Like, where's that come from?
ADHD, 100%. Okay. That comes from natural given ADHD. Okay. But no, really, I think it just comes from passion. It comes from this innate passion, this light that people talk about that I know I have a gift. And I think that the way that I can digest information and break it down, it's available to the masses. I think more people can understand. I'm not like your surgeon coming talking to you about your foramen and your layman and we have to do a laminotomy and all these things. Right. And you're like, let me get out the thesaurus so I can figure out what you're talking to me about. Right. I break it down into real world words that we all use day to day that I think everybody can relate to. And so it's not like, even when I speak about real estate, it's not even consumers that buy or sell homes or that are thinking about buying or selling a home or somebody that's never even bought a home and they're just living in their parents' house, not even done an apartment on their own yet. I think they can also resonate with my content that I speak to real estate agents about because I break it down so digestible and so much to where it's I guess, common language that they can also understand it and see the perspective that they themselves need to know to be able to go into the market and understand what they need to do to protect themselves.
That's huge. I mean, how much, we've had real estate people here, we've had different, but everybody's a consumer of something.
Right.
Right. So being able to provide that information beforehand, because, as we started looking for a studio, I was like, I'd never bought a camper. So I needed somebody to dumb it down for me. Right. Just like you do in so many cases. So tell us something over the last few years that may have adjusted your path, maybe put you in a situation to kind of make you focus in here.
I think honestly, what changed my path was what actually changed my path was a situation where I switched brokerages. Okay. I was with a national brand and then I went to another national brand, but it felt more boutique style. It was a boutique brand that had just recently grown into a national franchise, and kind of seeing that inner cogs working there and being kind of on the ground level of watching it grow. And I kind of became the director of operations for them very quickly. And then from there, I just kind of took that initiative. Like, that's kind of who I am. Like, if I see something that's within my grasp, and if it's not, I'm going to put on my heels and reach for it anyways.
There you go.
So I'm always that kind of a person. I'm always going to go after the ball that I don't think is obtainable, because I always ask myself, why not me?
Yeah.
And it got to a point where I became comfortable with myself and how I talk and how much I talk. And I thought, well, why not me? Why can it not be me that trains these new agents coming in? And then from the new agents, it became something bigger where I was helping, nonprofits. And then I sit on the board for 2 local nonprofits now. And I help them, with their event planning and things like that. And then it kind of grew into marketing, and that kind of built from there. And so it's always been this thing inside of me. I've always been told I'm abrasive. I've been told that I'm a lot to handle. I've been told that I'm too hyper, hence the ADHD part of it. But honestly, I think it's just your people. And I think when you finally become okay with who you are innately and just really okay with who you are, unapologetically, you bring the right people into your life. Yeah. And once you have the right people around you, they're not yes men. And I'm not here to promote yes men. I think that you need to get those people out of your lives. You need someone who's going to tell you no. You really do. Yeah. I had a very intense conversation just this past weekend, and it was something I wasn't ready to digest, but I needed to hear it. Yeah. And it made me take 2 steps back. I reassessed. I took the criticism for what it was, constructive, not personal, because it came from a correct source. It came from a friend, not somebody that's just going to say yes to me just to be like, yeah, you're doing great. Cheerlead. Yeah. No, push me, make me do better, see me grow. And I think that kind of going through that and changing my outlook on my personal perspective, changing my friend group, changing who is around me, gave me that push. I'm never going to sit on anyone's stage, anyone's podcast and say that I did this on my own. I will 100% say this is the people behind me that gave me this pedestal to stand on and gave me this confidence. Because if it wasn't for them pushing me and saying no, you have something to say, I would not be sitting here in front of you right now.
Awesome. And sharing the credit and the team. And a lot of times during the show, I think of things and a friend, Nick Hyder, that I talked about earlier, he said sometimes, the flower may not grow in this environment. That doesn't mean it's a bad flower. Let's change the environment. Yeah. And now look at what you're doing. So as you're, that's awesome, and you've had a wreck, you've had some physical things, you had to deal with a lot of stuff, right? And adjustment is good.
Yeah, and I think that people, I get asked a lot, how do I keep a positive mindset? I try to be a positive person. We all go through crap. Let's just be honest. We all have our bad days. We all have those days we sit in bed and we're like, oh, I got to get up and do life. Adulting is hard. Okay? Yeah. It's hard. But honestly, I just really don't take a day for granted. I look at it for what it is. I have this 5 rule. And I think I actually talked about it when I spoke, when me and you were in the same room. I have this 5-minute rule, this 5 for 5 rule. If it's going to affect you 5 minutes from now, 5 days, or 5 minutes, 5 months, or 5 years from now, that's how much energy you give to it. If it's only going to affect you 5 minutes from now, don't give it any energy. If it's going to affect you for 5 months from now, give it a little bit of energy, but don't let it consume you. If it's going to affect you 5 years from now, you need to probably change the trajectory of what caused that issue to outcome. You need to change that path so you have a new solution to reach, so you're not having to deal with it for the next 5 years. I'm never going to stay stagnant. I'm always going to keep moving. And like I tell everybody, hey haters, because y'all are keeping me going. Because you know, y'all are literally the fuel to my fire. Like y'all keep me going. But at the end of the day, it all comes back into the fact that everybody goes through something. And when you walk through life, the best analogy I can probably give here, and I know I'm jumping, but like it is probably the best analogy. And I'm the world's worst. I do have road rage, but I have calmed down substantially. So if you've ever ran late for an important meeting and you're getting ready and you woke up late, or you took too long getting ready, or the dogs didn't get back inside in time, or whatever, you left the house too late, you're now in traffic. You're mad at traffic because you were late. You are now exporting your own responsibilities on everyone else around you. And it's not their fault.
Right.
They are literally just doing their day-to-day tasks, and they're probably late too, and it's fine, which causes pile-ups and wrecks because everybody's trying to get somewhere at the same time. But for you to impose your own issues and your own fault, and you have to take accountability for that, onto someone else is the worst way that you can live, because they are unexpecting of that outcome, right? They don't know that you're providing them or you're throwing this on them because they're unaware of it. So the traffic analogy is a really great one to think about, because especially as women listeners out there, if we're doing our hair and we're like, oh, I got another 5 minutes, I can finish this curl, or I can do this, and finish this makeup. But then you get in the car and then you hit traffic and now you're pissed and you're like, oh, I'm not going to make it on time. I'm going to be 3 minutes late, whatever the case may be. But that's not anyone around you's fault.
Right.
Just like when we're walking through life together, and I actually made a post today about how strangers pass each other in the street. It's crazy. But, you know, when you pass somebody and you see that they're not having a great day and they're like pissy or whatever, don't allow that energy to become your energy. You know, let them go on about their day. If you happen to be next to somebody complaining at a restaurant or at a store or something like that, allow them to have that space. You can go out of your way to make it positive for them, but you don't have to go out of your way to continue to make it negative or transfer their energy onto you.
Right.
And I think that a lot of people fail to do that. I think a lot of people look at positive people and think, oh, it's fake, because they are negative and they don't know how to handle their own self. And I think self-valuation and self-validation is something that nobody is really talking about, and that people are not taking into accountability for their own self. And it's taken me a while. I might be young, but I've been through some stuff, right? I've pretty much had to raise myself, and I don't really have any family at this point in my life, and it's just me and my dogs, and I love it. And you know, you have to go through seasons and changes and chapters of life, and through that you grow or you become stagnant. And it's crazy, because as you continue to go through life, and if you choose to continue to go through the negative pathway, your negative thoughts are going to continue to breed additional negative thoughts. So if you've had a bad day and it's just about that day, but you continue to wake up the next day and still be negative, those negative thoughts about the day then start to become negative thoughts about yourself. And then those negative thoughts about yourself become about your value. And then those values become about your validation. And then you become this hermit of a person and you become depressed. I'm not saying that's how depression happens, but I'm not a therapist. I don't want to get sued. But it all kind of spirals, because our brain is the largest muscle in our body and the most powerful muscle in the body. And if you think positively, you will become positive. And if you think negatively, you will become negative. You mentioned I have a wreck a few years back, and I did allow that to kind of consume my life. I was mobile, but very not so much mobile. I had to wear back braces. I got made fun of wearing back braces because they were external, like they had to be outside the clothes. It was right when COVID happened. They said that my back surgery was elective. So I had to go 6 months of just dying pain. I was in therapy 3 days a week, chiropractor 2 days a week. So 5 days out of a 7-day week, I was doing some kind of form of trying to get relief. And I did allow it to kind of take over my life, and I couldn't work out, and I gained a bunch of weight, and, you know, I kind of sat in this pity party. And then once I had the surgery and I kind of got that fresh light back, and you get this like, wow, I can move again and I'm mobile again and I can do the workouts, I can run again, I can do all these things. I saw my mind shift. I saw my mind change. And when I realized what was happening, I fed into it. So things keep happening. People are going to gut punch you. The universe is going to gut punch you. Throw up if you need to. It's fine. But go drink some milk. It'll be fine. Like, it's okay. Like, it's not the end of the world. And I think that that's one of the biggest things that people ask. How do I stay positive? How do I maintain this? And it's just because I've worked out my muscle in my brain enough to know you cannot live in that negativity. And I've endured a lot, but I don't keep myself in that negative. I don't keep myself in that victim mentality. I just refuse to.
Here at Smith Financial Services, we take care of small business owners, 1099 contract workers, and their families. We know insurance can be rough if you're a small business owner, so we are here to make things easy. Visit our website, smithfinancial.services, to learn more.
And taking ownership and being accountable, it's something I'm still working on. I've got several years on you.
It's hard.
But, it's sometimes I had to go see a doctor about something earlier, and he looked at me and he goes, you're fine. And I'm like, no, but it's
it hurts.
I want to, and he's like, bro, you're good. You don't need surgery. And I'm like, okay, cool. But it's funny you say it that way, because I went into that appointment not knowing, and it ended up being, it's a 6-inch by 3-inch hematoma right here. Okay, so it's a large torn muscle that just doesn't need to be repaired. But my mind sure was different when I walked out of there and knew that I didn't have to have surgery, right? So what could I have done different? Help me here. What could I have done different? I'm going into this appointment. I'm starting to, okay, if I have to have surgery, then I'll have to do this. I have to do this. I have to do this. And then by the time we get there, I'm like sweating. And I'm like, okay, doc, how bad is it? And he's like, bro, you're good.
You're good.
Okay. All right. Yay. So what could I have done different?
I call that the spiral. I think everybody calls it the spiral, right? So you have to stop yourself, because you don't know the outcome. You can only imagine. You can only assume. And what do they say about assuming?
You and me.
Right?
Yep.
Exactly. Yep. So you don't know the outcome. Now, while Google is the worst thing and the best thing that's out there, I definitely do reach out to that. So, I've had cancer scares in my history, and I've been through that. Like, I've sat in a doctor's office and cried, not knowing what the outcome was, but thinking the worst, right? And then why have you allowed your body and your mental and your immune system to allow itself to go through that whole stress process? Because it's just like dopamine and adrenaline. Like, you get this hit of anxiety and you get this hit of a wave, but then you come down off of it, right? So you had this dopamine hit of stress, right? I don't know what the opposite of dopamine would be, right? So I guess a cortisol hit, because stress is cortisol. And then you crashed. And then it's like, you get that woosah moment, but then a lot of times, I know I experience like a mental exhaustion, because I've been thinking about it, just churning. So what I would just tell you to do is like, take a minute to realize what's happening in the moment. Take a minute to say, I don't know what's actually going to happen. I don't know what the worst case scenario is. If you feel the need to go to Google, but just know that that is a perception of what it could be. You're not a doctor. Google's not your doctor. They're not looking at it. They don't have your MRI. They don't have your CAT scans. They don't have any of that. They can't tell you what exactly it is. So if you're going to go to Google, you're only... Pause here to tell you a little anecdote. The girlfriend that goes through the boyfriend's phone, you're going to look for the negative. You're going to find the negative. You're only going through the phone because you think you're going to find something bad. If you're thinking that, you're going to find it. So when you go to Google with a non-biased outlook. Don't type in like, am I going to die from this hematoma? No. That's not how we do this. That's not how we stop the process. You say, ultimately, this is like the injury that you sustained. And then just say possible outcomes from said injury. Like, that's like the most generic, non-biased way that you can go about it. And it will probably tell you there's surgery involved, or you can say possibly not surgery. You need to just recognize those tics or those like moments. I have a tic that I do, and I go to therapy. I'm a huge proponent of therapy. And in my therapist office, when I don't like talking about topics that she brings up, which is why she's a great therapist, I will start picking at like the cuticles of my nails. I can't pick at my nails. They're too long. So I have to pick around them. And I'll start picking at him, and she's like, sit on your hands. So I have to like literally move and sit on my hands.
Okay.
And it's her bringing me back to reality. Like I'm clearly having an anxious a moment, and I'm having a physical response to the conversation or to this feeling. And instead of me like continuing with that thought process, she stops me and says, okay, recognize the feeling. So when it happens again, you can stop yourself. So you need to find those triggers, whether they're mental or physical.
Right.
And then stop yourself in the middle of that trigger and say, okay, hold on, breathe. Wait a minute. It's not the end of the world.
Right.
It's not going to die. Like,
yeah. It's going to be okay.
You know, I hit a pothole right after I have this thing. It's called a birthday curse. So if you don't know what a birthday curse is, it's the worst.
Yeah.
So every year on my birthday, for as long as I can remember, something happens, whether to me or people very, very close and around me, mostly to me though. I had gone to Birmingham for my birthday, and it was late, and I was leaving Birmingham, and I hit a pothole that was trying to take me to China, and it wrecked my rim and two of my tires.
Oh.
I was on the side of 65 at almost 11:45 at night.
Okay.
Pretty much scared out of my mind because it's like I was on a shoulder, but it was a really tight shoulder. So, and all the lights on the highway were out at the time where I was at. So I was like, I'm going to be roadkill.
Yeah.
So I can't get out of the car. And instead of in that moment, as a single female sitting in that car freaking out, I recognized the situation and I left. I called some friends and I was like, what do I do? I was like, I can't get out of the car.
Right.
Because you're in that heightened state.
Sure.
And the friend that I called was like, hey, take 2 seconds to think. You have another side of the vehicle you can get out of. Get out on the passenger side. Yeah. Crawl over. Yeah. Get out on the passenger side. Check the car. Get back in the car. And whatever. Yeah. And so I did that, looked at the car, I was like, cool. And then I was like, oh, wait, I have OnStar. Because in that one moment alone, it centered me. And I called OnStar. I was like, hey, I need a tow truck. This is what just happened. My car is destroyed. Yeah. Still don't have my car back for those listening. So, yeah, it's been over a month now. Yeah. For a pothole. Yeah. FYI, don't drive on Birmingham roads at night. But it, you know, it's one of those things where, you know, I felt myself spiraling and I couldn't stop it. I laughed because like, of course this is going to happen. It's my birthday curse, right? Yeah. Of course this happens to me. I'm in Birmingham celebrating my birthday. Of course. Why not? Why would it not happen? But I recognized the moment. I recognized the spiral. I laughed about it. I still am laughing about it, right? Yeah. I don't have my car. Right. You know, it's been over 30 days. I'm paying out of pocket. I've paid a good amount of money out of pocket at this point. But I'm still sitting here smiling with you because I know at the end of the day, this is the universe like just being like, you know what? Let's just teach you a lesson. I don't know what this lesson is. Yeah. And universe, I'm ready for the lesson to be over. Right. But I still have a vehicle to drive. I'm still able to go to my appointments. I'm still able to do what I need to do. And I'm alive and I'm safe and I'm fine. Yeah. It's a vehicle. It's okay. Yeah. And so you just have to like take those moments to like recognize that it's not there. Now yours is a little bit different, right? It's physically, it's on your body. Yeah. But you know, you can walk. Yeah. Yeah. You're able to do everything. I can still do everything I need to do. So, you know, it's just taking that moment and be like, wait, hold on. Yeah. And I tell that, you know, I had a friend of mine that had a pretty intense cancer scare. Okay. Sorry, I hit the mic.
You're good. I apologize. You're good. You can move it around.
I'm a hand talker. Look, this is why I got to sit on my hands.
Okay. All right. All right.
But yeah, like I had a friend that had a pretty intense cancer scare and they were spiraling and, you know, and I wanted to be there for them because it's not my place. I wasn't in the doctor's office with them. I don't know the diagnosis. I don't know what the conversation was. So I can't step in and say, no, don't think that way. But what I can come back and say is proof, right? So I went to Google, like I said, on a non-biased situation. And I said, hey, while yes, this is a possibility, it is not a probability, right? There are other options for this. This could be an infection. It could be this. You need to get a second opinion. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about, do you want someone to go with you next time? So just being there for those people when you're also seeing them spiral can help those other people recognize those situations too.
Gotcha. So yeah, I mean, and that's one thing that if I would have sat down and went, okay, probabilities, I'm not going to die. I'm okay. Yeah, I get it. But, you know, I would have been a little nervous too. And it's according to what area of Birmingham or where I'd have been that like, okay, you can't do anything. Yeah. Because you don't have two spares, even if you could.
I stayed in the car. Yeah. I didn't leave the car. Yeah. And I was on the phone. Because I had to get in the tow truck car. Right. So then I had to drive in the tow truck cabin to the dealership. And then from there, had a friend pick me up and take me to a hotel room. I've watched enough murder podcasts in my life to know, single white female, midnight. At this point, it's almost 1 a.m., mind you, because I was waiting on the tow truck. We need to make him see me as a human.
Yeah.
I am not roadkill, and I am not about to be Jeffrey Dahmered.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So I'm on the phone with a friend of mine. They're on the furthest ear from the driver.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, they're going to kidnap you. They're going to they're going to kill you, whatever. I was like, no, they're not. And I was like, what's your name? Gentleman's name was Jeremy. He was amazing and loved Jeremy. Jeremy was a great tow truck driver.
Awesome.
And I said, well, my name's Lauren. I have 2 dogs at home. Do you have animals? And he was like, actually, yeah. And so I have the phone conversation here, but I'm having a full-blown conversation with Jeremy.
Yeah.
And I will never forget Jeremy's name because I made him a human and he made me a human.
Yeah.
Now, whether that was going to stop his antics from murdering me, nobody knows. But yes, you know, you just try to like be personable. So in that moment, again, like instead of being like, oh, I can't believe I wrecked the tires and and being mad, like I think a lot of people would have reacted and being that late at night and being upset. And I just was like, Jeremy, you got dogs. I got dogs. My dog's names are Mowgli and Theodore. What's your dog's names?
Nice.
You know, so it's you personalize the situation if you're ever scared. So there's just a little quick girly tip out there. Personalize the situation. But yeah, no, I think that I always try to do my best to find positivity or handling it in stride. Did not handle the conversation when I got the call the next morning at 6 a.m. waking me up telling me it was going to be $1,800 for my rim and 2 tires. And I was like, you know what? It's fine. It's fine with the burning background. It's fine.
Exactly.
But, you know, that's what insurance is for. So, you know, you just go through the process and you do what you need to do to get done. And then you move on. It's life, you know?
Yeah, it is. And the truly successful people I've been around, you know, sometimes I call a friend or a mentor and I tell them kind of things I'm dealing with. And when they're ahead of you, you know, and those are people we're reaching out to, right? You and I are looking for people to lead us and help us get to that next step. And they kind of laugh at my problems. And they're like, oh, that's cute.
I wish.
That's cute. Yeah. You know what I'm dealing with right now? So it's like, but your, I guess, evolution, transition, transformation, and how has that, you know, what's next for you? Because we've talked about, I don't know, maybe 2 to 3 or 4 different things. But if somebody's looking at what's next for you, what are we looking for? Where will we catch you? How are we going to see you? Where are your focus? Like,
where's that? So, I mean, I own a couple businesses in town. You know, I do content creation for small businesses and, you know, promotions and things like that. But I want to help smaller businesses grow their outreach to the community. But I also own Pino's Palette, so a wine and paint studio, shameless plug. And I expanded into Franklin recently. So that is nice. But ultimately, you're going to see me on a stage. You're going to see me speaking at Madison Gardens one day before I die.
Nice.
That is where I'm going to be. That is a goal of mine. It's on my vision board. It's up there. It's, you know, bucket list. And these topics I have to talk about are wide and variety. But, you know, if we hone them in, it does come down to education. It comes down to training and it comes down to mentorship. And it comes in the form of multiple avenues. So from a women entrepreneurship standpoint, right? Like being a woman in a man's world and trying to run businesses and trying to be a single female, trying to run businesses and trying to date. Like it's hard. And, you know, finding time for yourself, or if you are in a relationship, finding time for yourself and your family and your businesses. It's tough for women of trauma, women of abuse. Like I've been down that road. So I do have a lot to kind of come from, but I think moving forward, that's the platform. I wouldn't be who I am without my history, and I wouldn't go where I'm going to go, and I wouldn't be speaking at Madison Gardens before I die. If I didn't have to go through some of these trials that I think I was meant to go through.
Absolutely.
You know, you kind of mentioned, you know, like the people above us that are doing this, you know, have the 400,000 followers or all the things, right? Yeah, our problems are minute to them. They're like, I wish I had your problems. I wish I had just a pothole to deal with. But at the end of the day, everybody has to take a slice of the pie from where they're at. You cannot eat the elephant at one bite. You know, everybody says the same, you know, thing. It's the antidote of like, you know, you have to eat the elephant one bite at a time. But I want to take it a step further too and recognize to people, I think on kind of like I talked about in the beginning, I break it down in layman's terms for everybody. You know, I might want to go on a nice date night. And to me, a nice date night might be Tom Brown's or Char, right?
Sure,
We're going to spend about 200, 250, maybe 300 if we get a nice bottle of wine or something, right? But to you over here, somebody else listening or somebody else starting a business or starting where their baby steps in, a date night to you might be, instead of us going to McDonald's tonight, let's go to Chili's.
Yeah.
You know, and everybody, and that's okay. And that's what I think that people don't understand is like, it's okay to be wherever you are.
That's awesome.
And whatever slice of the pie you need to eat today, eat it.
Yeah.
Eat it fully, ingest it, digest it, and take it all in. Because at the end of the day, nobody is you.
Yeah.
And nobody can say what I have to say. Nobody's going to probably listen to what I have to say, and that's fine, but I'm going to keep talking because my audience, one, might be small on social media platforms. Statistically reporting, you get about 10% view ratio to following ratios.
Okay.
That's what the average people see
Okay.
on their following to view ratios.
Mm-hmm.
Since I kind of really got big on the video content creation about 2 years ago, I've reached between 80 and 92% view ratios to follow ratios.
Okay.
That tells me what I have to say, and the people that I'm reaching and the people that are following me want to hear what I have to say. So I'm going to be sitting on a stage, talking to people, whether they're starting out or whether they're 15 years into a corporation. It doesn't matter. I have training, I have modules, I have techniques to use. I mean, I can break it down into me doing the thing for you or me telling you how to do the thing.
Right.
It depends on where your budget lies, you know?
Right, exactly.
So, and that's where it comes down to. And so, you know, for you to say like, what's next and where are we going to see me? It's hard to say exactly because I'm not going to pigeonhole myself and say, I'm only going to talk to, you know, corporations and help the big guys get bigger because I'm small and I started small and I want to help those people too. I feel like everybody has that chance to be big and everybody has that, whoever has that drive to want to work for themselves or want to provide a value to the community. You can't just be like, I just want to be on the thought process was OnlyFans. I was like, you can't just be on OnlyFans forever.
Yeah.
You just can't.
You
okay?
can't. No, there's a time limit. Yeah, there's certain jobs that have
time limits on them. Yes.
And certain outfits. So.
Yeah, you need to have a window, right? But you also have to provide value. The more value and the more things that you can provide to the community, to an outreach of your specific avatar, your specific clientele that you're reaching, the quicker you're going to grow. And honestly, like, if you have a product or a service that you're providing to somebody, you have to look at it as a fact that people are not buying for the way that they live. They're buying for the way they want to live. I mean, unfortunately, we're in a country of keeping up with the Joneses. It's about the flashy. It's about the who has what. It's what brand are you wearing, etc. But at the end of the day, you have to have something that other people want that they cannot yet achieve or get to.
Right.
I get asked all the time, like, you don't feel like you're cringy on videos or anything like that? I was like, yeah, I started very cringy.
Yeah.
If you go back and look at my videos, they were bad.
Yeah.
Have I taken them down? No.
Right.
Because I want people that do follow me, if you go all the way back, see where I started.
Yep.
You don't get this polished version of me. You get the ums and the uhs and the ands.
Right.
You know, you get the really big hand movements. I've gotten to where I just hold my hands here now.
It's okay.
You know, and it's you learn over time what you do and don't need to do and say and how to perfect like what you do and say. And blooper reels, gold.
Awesome.
Like social media gold. Blooper reels.
It is.
Yes.
It is. All right. So I didn't prep you for this question, and I just kind of thought of it. And to see what kind of response we get here. Tell us something that most people don't know about you. Not the nails, not the social media, not this. Tell us something about you, not the dogs. What's something that you enjoy, a hobby or something that of music, maybe your workout stuff, like something about you that most people don't know.
So I don't think that a lot of people know that I actually am really, really creative.
Okay.
So it might be known, obviously, because I'm in a creative space. But what I mean by that is I love like working with my hands. I've taken apart an alternator and put one in.
Okay.
I used to do car shows, and so I used to tear apart my Dodge Charger and put it all back together with custom parts.
Okay.
I've taken air intakes out and put them in. I've changed oils. If it would have just been the one tire, I would have changed my car. It's fine.
Right.
So there's that side of me, you know. But I really actually enjoy, so I'm a very publicly private person, is what I tell people.
Yeah.
So I do have a very large public presence as far as I post constantly. I do, you know, share a lot of my personal insights from my Real Talks and my Friday Fives. But more than that, I actually enjoy being an introvert. So I'm very extroverted when you see me around, and when you're talking to me in this podcast, you know, you're going to see the extroverted me, but I like sitting in my hammock.
Okay.
Just chilling out for 30 minutes every morning.
That's awesome.
I just sit there. Now, the summertime, we don't do this because it's too hot.
I got
it's way too hot.
I got you. Unless you're going at 3 o'clock.
Not going to happen. Not going to happen. The back of them eyelids is tight.
I got you.
But, you know, I would say about now, like, I would say over the last, like, week or so, you know, we're mid-August, like, it's shifting. We're getting, like, 60s and 70s when you first wake up, 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. I sit out in my hammock for about 30 minutes and just take in the day. I have this thing about feeling grounded. I'm very country. I come from not so rich roots. And so I actually believe that I'm kind of hippie.
No, talk to me. I do the same thing. I do the same thing.
I really fully believe that, like, when you ground yourself with the universe will ground itself back. So my hammock is a chair. It's not like a lay down hammock. It's just like a floating chair hammock. And I can sit all the way in it, but I will actually, for the first like 10 minutes or so, I keep one foot on the ground, on the concrete. And it literally is just me and the universe just becoming one for the day. I'm allowing the energy for the day, whether it's hot, cold, rainy, whatever, to kind of take over and let me just process that. And, you know, I feel like it kind of gives us a sense of grounding, because at the end of the day, I'm going to get real nerdy. That's it. I'm a super nerd.
Okay.
That's what people don't know about me. I am a super nerd. I will research to the death of me for random facts. Like my friends call it Snapple facts.
Okay.
If you remember, like, about
they had a little
facts underneath it. Like kangaroos can't bounce backwards. Just
never thought of it, but thanks.
They can't bounce backwards.
No reverse on kangaroos. Okay, got it.
No Uno reverse there. But yeah, so at the end of the day, you know, if you think about it, we're all atoms, and that's what we are made of, right? We're just nucleus cells and atoms, and that's how we're compiled, right? And everything is broken down in the same factor. Grass and concrete, it's all some kind of chemical compound or some kind of natural compound. And so you just need to recenter yourself around that organic material, and then just kind of breathe and then reassess, just taking in fresh air. So many of us like actually don't take in air, like we're just like really just running through our days, like not thinking about it. But if you take a second to just really breathe, look at a sunset, look at the way that the bees are pollinating, like anything, it can really center you and really give you a different perspective of life. Like, wow, like we're all the center of our own universe. We're all our, what is it? The new thing the kids are saying, main character. We're all the main character in our story. But you know, when you take a second to do those things, I found, you realize that you're really not. You realize you're just a moving cog in a much bigger factory. Like you're just, it's a machine that's working, and we're all just pieces of it. And without every single piece, I wouldn't be sitting here today. You wouldn't have the podcast studio. You know what I'm saying? Like all of these things wouldn't come together. And I'm all about serendipity and like how everything is just kind of meant to be.
Step into the future with Power Loops, the king of off-grid power, where our proprietary system is changing the game of energy. This isn't just power, it's freedom. The freedom to live, work, and play anywhere, powered by our innovative technology that taps into the Earth's natural energy. Our system is designed for efficiency, durability, and sustainability, ensuring that you have reliable power 365 days a year without harming the planet. Whether you're traveling in the RV, the remote wilderness, or just opting out of traditional power grids, Power Loops provides the ultimate solution. Join us in leading the charge towards a cleaner, greener, and more empowered world. Power Loops, the king of off-grid energy.
No, as soon as I could get up and move, when I hurt my leg, and I told Courtney, I said, I need to go walk in the grass for a little while this morning. Like, I knew I needed that energy. And I love sometimes having the conversation. People say, well, I believe in God. I believe in the universe. I believe in this. I believe in this. I'm like, okay, well, I believe in God, but I also believe in the energy. And I also believe in the universe. And I also believe that everything, if it's all created to be energy, then why can't I absorb it this way? If I want to take my shoes off and walk in the grass, hell, I did it growing up.
Right.
And I had a great time. Right?
We all drank from a water hose at one point.
We were fine. So going outside, no, I love that. And being a nerd and researching things. But ultimately, the cool thing that I've heard here is you have been consistent. You have a great mindset. And you have goals. And the only thing that I would like try to, if I could offer some encouragement.
Please.
When are you going to speak at that location? Not before you die, but when?
We got to narrow that down.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Right? Like, of all the things I hear, I'm like, nope, we need a date. We need an age. We need a date. We need a connection. Who do I know that we can get that done? You know what I mean?
Today, I am 36 years old as of today.
Okay.
We will say in the next 15 years.
Come on, man.
He said 4.
Four.
Madison Gardens is a big venue.
Yeah. Well, that's 48 months. Come on, man.
I will speak at my own conference in Vegas in 4 years.
Okay.
Will we accept this?
We'll get this.
I have spoken in Vegas before, but for someone else. But I will have my
Okay.
own headline.
All right. That was all. I was just going to try to get you with that.
Yeah.
But no. Listen.
It's funny because all my coaches do the same thing. They're like, you have these big grand scale of like ideas, but how are we getting there? When are we getting there? You need to work towards it. And so I think that's where the ADHD comes in. I'm like, oh, like spaghetti on walls. Let's just throw it up there and see what sticks.
And there's, you know, I had the conversation. I did a show yesterday, and I said, you know, I was that shiny object guy for a long time, and I still am. But as we grow and develop, we put ourselves in positions where now we have our systems in place where we know if we can implement that or not. Does it fit in my core values, my standards, my systems? You know, you have multiple businesses right now. And I didn't know you'd opened to one in Franklin. Tell us a little bit about what's that? What do? You drink, you paint?
So Pino's Palette is a national franchise, and it's a wine and paint studio. So customers come in, they paint, they drink if they choose. The ones that I run, they're all independently owned and operated. But the two that I'm now running, we do offer mocktails for pregnant or non-drinkers.
Sure.
And so, you know, you come in, you paint, we do private parties, mobile parties, corporate events, kids stuff. So our goal is to bring creativity and art to the masses.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're 5 or 105.
Yeah.
You know, being in real estate, as long as I've been in it, I had to find an outlet. And I actually went to Pino's Palette as a consumer. Okay. My guest room is floor to ceiling, all 4 walls of paintings. Okay. And it was just a therapeutic way for me to just like de-stress from the day with my girlfriends or just by myself.
Yeah.
And, you know, I wanted to expand into Franklin because there's an opportunity there. You know, obviously from a business perspective, there's numbers that make a lot of sense up there, but excuse me.
You go.
But more than that, there's an opportunity there to kind of bring that there. You know, there's been a few that have started and then fallen short and they've closed or they're no longer there. They have a few niche things like wood painting and stuff like that, but we primarily paint on canvas. And like I said, I partner with a few different charities in town, and one of the ones I do is American Heart Association, and Pino's is very happy to give back. And one of the things we do is actually the Strokes for Strokes at their gala every year. And what that is we actually encourage patrons to paint with their non-dominant hand, and it gives them an idea of how it feels to regain strength over your extremities after a stroke.
That's cool.
They, in hospitals and stuff like that, after, you know, wrecks and after having to regain after like any kind of major trauma to extremities and stuff, painting is a big thing because it helps. One, it's a mental clarity, right? Because it's just like calming and it's just like seeing the completion of something. It gives you like an ocular plus a mental thing. It's kind of 2 in 1, and then you're getting physical. I keep hitting the mic. I'm so sorry.
You're good.
I'm so used to like the little baby mics that are so sensitive, and they're like, "Don't touch the mic."
You can move it out a little bit.
It's fine.
I just whatever you need.
It's fine. I'll sit on my hand.
You're good. You're good.
But yeah, so, they also teach, with the painting, because they're helping them rebuild that muscle strength, and so usually you'll see that more so in like kids and stuff like that. Obviously, as you get older, they're going to put them through different physical therapy options. But we get that actually a lot. We get a lot of handicapped people that are coming in and trying to rebuild strength from strokes or from whatever case may be. Like I've had somebody that had, I think they broke their collarbone, if I'm not mistaken, and they had a sling on and they painted with one hand to see how hard it was because it was their non-dominant hand. And then when they got it healed, they came in and painted, but it was still hard to kind of go up. Yeah. And so they were like, they just wanted to test themselves. And cool. That's kind of, we built our brand off of that, like as far as like being there and being supportive of all of our clients. So we expanded into Franklin, and I'm excited to see that one grow. It is definitely giving me a stress headache these days, but it'll be there. It's going to grow. And
that's good to know, because I didn't know you had that up there. As much as I try to follow and keep up,
it's brand new. It's brand new. Yeah. Like it hasn't even been posted yet. You're the first. You get the exclusive, Well,
we got to connect you some people up there to get some events going up
there. For sure. For sure.
But here's the, is there any other thing that you want to hit that I've missed, or is there anything that, because I do have one more question for you, but I want to make sure that you cover. I'm going to hold that one. And it's simple. It's easy. But is there anything else you want to hit?
I think just to kind of steal the platform for a second, I definitely want to kind of touch base on kind of some of those videos. I do those real talk things. Yeah. So my real talks are really, there's something that I started because I wanted a way. I write a lot. Let me take 2 steps back. So I write a lot to get my thoughts clear. And when I write things down and I sometimes make myself cry just because, the things that you go through, and like when you actually put it on paper, it kind of becomes, and I don't type it. I'm not talking like typing. I hand write this stuff out because it's catharticism, right? It's like, you're disconnected when you're typing it. And I just, it's visual, and it's, like I said, it's ocular and physical. Yeah. And so, when you write it, you can retain it better, and you feel the emotion in it, because as you're writing it, my handwriting gets like a little bit sloppier, a little bit faster, because I don't want to write out that thought, So you can go back and read it and see how your emotions actually played out while writing it. And it's very therapeutic to see. So I decided to kind of take those writings and turn them into video format. But I wanted to be very specific that it wasn't for me. It was because the more I would go back and read some of these things, so I could kind of get an understanding for my own feelings. And that's how I have found a way to grow within myself and say, okay, hey, why was I angry about this thing? What really was the root cause of the anger? And so I go back and read it, and I'm like, you really weren't mad at that person. You're mad at the way they called you out because of this thing, or you're insecure about that topic, or whatever the case may be. It's not them, it's you. And I kept reading it, and I was like, I can't be the only one that experiences these things. So I decided to do my real talks to really reach a platform of people that maybe not vulnerable enough to share their story, or could relate to my stories. Just in the last 2 weeks alone, so I typically post every 2 weeks for my real talks, but this time I posted back to back, week after week, because of the response I got 2 weeks ago to the response I got this week. And it's continuing. And it makes me feel great because primarily the audience and the people that are responding are women. But, I'm very open about it. If you want to cut it out, it's fine. But, being a victim of sexual abuse, it's something that women go through. Yeah. And being a victim of domestic violence. Don't want to throw that out there. My ex-husband was not the one. It was in high school. But, going through those things, it's tough as a woman. And if you think back to those times, right? So this is like 18 to 25 years ago. And if not more than that, I can't do the math in my head that fast. But, you're going through these processes, and there's no resources, and you're being told no, that it's not wrong. And, just to deal with it and just suck it up. They're a good guy, like whatever. And then you're like, no, but like I deserve validation. Yeah. And to go through those things and not have a resource, it's tough. And then when you realize that even those resources that are supposed to be there from like a family perspective or friends, you lose them when you start to open up about certain things like that. Because they don't want to deal with it. They don't want to take that on. Like we talked about earlier, like energy exchange or like negativity exchange. And you have to, when you talk about stuff like that, when you talk about traumas and you talk about big deal traumas with your friend group or your family group, you really have to ask their permission to have those conversations. You can't just throw them on them. And because it is a lot for somebody to take in. And so the Real Talks came in because I want to show that there is somebody else out there that went through it, and I'm always here as a resource.
Yeah.
So that's, if there's one other last thing I can plug, anybody that's going through any, if you just need someone to vent to, I'm your girl.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to call you out, right? I'm not a yes man, like we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
If I feel like you're in the wrong, I'm going to call you out as being in the wrong.
Yeah.
But you know, I've been through a crazy amount of things. Am I saying that I have the worst story in the world? Absolutely not.
Right.
But am I saying that I've been through some stuff and I've chosen to move my life in a positive direction and chose not to live in that darkness and keep it as a characteristic of who I am as a person? No. So that would probably be like the last thing I think I wanted to touch base on.
Well, as we talked about energy, and I felt like there was some good energy here, and every time we do a show, I love this setup. I love the way it feels. Yeah. And you just basically laid the groundwork to the last question. Because what I like to do, absolutely, if you want to give us a sample of like a real talk, or you want to say something to reach out to maybe that lady, maybe that guy, maybe whoever. Doesn't matter.
Here's my phone number. I'm single. No, I'm just kidding. Don't do that.
There you go. Right there, Stu. Put it right there. Well, we could, but no. The wrong show. No. No, but what would you like? Is there something are you could talk about how you write and how, because I journal myself, not as often as I should, right? And I go back and I'm like, dang, I should have done a little meditation, a little journal, a little
something.
Probably would have had a better day at the doctor, right?
Yeah.
So if as we wrap up here though, but that's your camera, that's your show, give us a little real talk, a little sample of what that would look like, and you can run us out and I'll wrap it up.
All right. So, welcome to the Real Talk. So I'm actually going to talk about what happened right when I walked in.
Okay.
So I want to talk about having your own valuation and knowing your own worth and value. Fighting for your own value is something that you have to maintain. If you know exactly what it is that you're worth and that you bring to the table, don't let anyone else tell you otherwise. Allowing other people to put their own perceptions on you or allow them to push away from you gives you an answer that, ultimately probably you should separate yourself. So honestly, think of it like, I don't like the conversation of the new thing where people say like, if he wanted to, he would. I don't like that mentality because I get texts all the time that go unread just because I'm busy. So I don't believe in that mentality. But what I will say though, is from a business perspective and just from somebody that runs multiple businesses a day, know your value, and you have to know that in your core. And you have to, like you mentioned core values earlier, you have to know your core value, and you have to know and align yourself with people that match that. And if they can't see your worth and see your value, you need to be okay to let that go. Because I'm telling you right now, the moment that you prove your value and your worth to someone else, they will see it and they will be jealous. You need to be able to expand your circle to show your value and show your clientele what you're worth and what you can bring to the table. The more people that see it, the more people you're going to reach, the more sales you're going to get. And that would be a real talk.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being on the show today. Thank you guys for watching Podcast on Wheels, powered by Power Loops.